Amy Carter pushed her brown hair away from her eyes as she bent over the microscope in the research lab. The USS Liberty hummed quietly around her as it moved through space near the Kepler 442 system. She had been working alone for 3 hours now, studying samples from the last planet they visited. The other crew members were either sleeping or busy with their own tasks. The samples were strange. They looked like normal rock but seemed to change color when she wasn't looking directly at them. Amy made notes on her tablet and prepared another slide. She loved this work. Being out here among the stars, finding new things that no human had ever seen before, made her feel like she was part of something bigger. A soft beep came from her communication device. "Dr. Carter, this is Captain Brooks on the bridge. How are those samples coming along?" Amy touched the device. "Still working on them, Captain. These rocks are very unusual. I think they might be some kind of living crystal, but I need more time to be sure." "Take all the time you need, Doc. We're not going anywhere for a few hours." Amy smiled and went back to her work. She was 28 years old and had been studying alien life forms for 5 years. Her older brother Jake always said she was crazy for wanting to work so far from Earth, but Amy couldn't imagine doing anything else. The ship suddenly shook hard. Amy grabbed the table to keep from falling. Her samples scattered across the floor. "What was that?" she said to herself. Red lights began flashing and an alarm started ringing. Amy had never heard this alarm before, but she knew it meant trouble. The ship's voice system crackled to life. "All hands to emergency stations. We are under attack. This is not a drill." Amy's heart started beating fast. She had trained for this situation but never thought it would actually happen. The Liberty was just a research ship. They had no weapons and only basic shields. Who would want to attack them? The ship shook again, harder this time. Amy heard the sound of metal breaking somewhere far away. She needed to get to the emergency meeting point, but the corridor outside her lab was in the opposite direction from where she needed to go. Amy opened the lab door carefully and looked out. The corridor was empty, but she could hear shouting and running footsteps from other parts of the ship. She stepped out and started moving toward the emergency station. She had only gone a few steps when the lights went out. Emergency lighting came on a second later, casting everything in a red glow. Amy tried to move faster, but the ship shook again and she fell against the wall. "Computer, what's happening?" she called out. "Hull breach on Deck 3. Life support failing on Deck 5. Unknown vessels have attached to the ship," the computer's calm voice replied. Amy felt cold fear in her stomach. Someone was boarding the Liberty. She started running toward the emergency station but stopped when she heard strange sounds coming from that direction. The sounds were like metal scratching against metal, but also like voices talking in a language she had never heard. She turned around and ran back toward her lab. Maybe she could hide there until help came, but as she reached the lab door, she realized that help might not be coming at all. The Liberty was alone out here, days away from the nearest human ship. Amy went into her lab and locked the door. She looked around for anything she could use as a weapon, but there was nothing except some lab equipment. She grabbed her tablet and tried to send a message to her brother Jake. She knew his ship was somewhere in this part of space. "Jake, this is Amy. The Liberty is under attack. Unknown aliens are boarding the ship. I don't know if anyone else is alive. Please send help. I'm in Lab 7 on Deck 4. She sent the message and hoped it would reach him. The scratching sounds were getting closer. Amy could hear them in the corridor outside her lab. She looked around for somewhere to hide, but the lab was small and open. She decided to hide behind one of the big research machines near the back of the room. The lab door exploded inward. Amy put her hand over her mouth to keep from screaming. 3 tall figures walked into the room. They looked like they were made of blue crystal, but they moved like living beings. They were much taller than humans, maybe 8 feet tall, and their bodies seemed to shine with their own light. One of them spoke in that strange language. Its voice sounded like wind blowing through glass. The other 2 spread out and started looking around the room. Amy tried to make herself smaller behind the machine. One of the crystal beings walked right past her hiding spot. Amy held her breath. She could see its face now. It had no nose or mouth that she could see, but there were glowing spots where eyes might be. Its head turned toward her and suddenly she knew it could see her. The being reached out with a long arm and pulled Amy from her hiding place. She tried to run, but its grip was too strong. It said something to the others and they came over to look at her. Amy found her voice. "Please don't hurt me. I'm just a scientist. I don't have any weapons. The beings looked at each other. One of them spoke in perfect English. You are the human. We have heard of your species but never seen one alive. You are smaller than we expected. Who are you? Why did you attack our ship? We are Zephyrians. Your ship was in our space, but you interest us more than your ship does. You will come with us. I won't go anywhere with you, Amy said, trying to sound braver than she felt. The Zephyrian that spoke English made a sound that might have been laughter. You misunderstand. This was not a request. Two of them grabbed Amy's arms. She tried to fight, but they were much stronger than her. They carried her out of the lab and through the corridors of her ship. As they walked, Amy saw other crew members lying on the floor. She couldn't tell if they were dead or just unconscious. They brought her to the ship's airlock where more Zephyrians were waiting. Through the airlock window, Amy could see a huge alien ship attached to the Liberty. It was dark and angular, nothing like the smooth curves of human ships. The Zephyrians put some kind of breathing mask over her face and pushed her through the airlock into their ship. Amy tried to remember everything she saw, hoping she might find a way to escape later. But as they carried her deeper into the alien vessel, she wondered if she would ever see her brother or Earth again. The Zephyrian ship was unlike anything Amy had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of the same blue crystal as the aliens themselves, and they glowed softly as she was carried through long corridors. The air felt thick and tasted strange even through the breathing mask they had given her. They brought her to a large room filled with more Zephyrians. Amy counted at least 20 of them, all tall and shining. They stood in perfect rows, not moving or speaking. At the front of the room was a raised platform where 3 Zephyrians stood. These ones were different. They were taller than the others, and their crystal bodies had gold streaks running through them. The Zephyrian, who spoke English, pushed Amy forward. High Council, I present the human specimen. We found it on the research vessel as planned. One of the golden-streaked Zephyrians stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice was deeper and colder than the others. So this is a human. It looks even weaker than our report suggested. How did such fragile beings ever develop space travel? Amy tried to stand up straighter. She was scared but didn't want to show it. We're not as weak as we look. The High Council member made that glass wind sound again. It speaks. How amusing. Tell us, little human. What is your function on the vessel we destroyed? I'm a scientist. I study alien life forms. Amy paused, then added, though I've never met any as rude as you. Several Zephyrians made angry sounds. The High Council member raised a hand and they became quiet. Rude, we are Zephyrians. We do not need to be polite to lesser species. Your ship was weak. Your crew offered no real resistance. This proves humans are not worth our respect. Amy felt anger building inside her. You attacked a research ship with no weapons. That doesn't prove anything except that you're bullies. Silence, another council member said. You will be taken to the examination chambers. We will learn everything about human physiology and psychology. Then we will decide if your species is useful or should be eliminated. They led Amy out of the council chamber and down more corridors. The ship seemed enormous. Amy tried to memorize the path they took, but there were so many turns and passages that she quickly became lost. They brought her to a smaller room with walls that looked like metal instead of crystal. In the center was a chair with straps and wires attached to it. Amy didn't want to go near it, but the Zephyrians pushed her forward. Sit, one of them commanded. No. The Zephyrian looked surprised. You refuse? You have no choice in this matter. I always have a choice. 2 other Zephyrians grabbed Amy and forced her into the chair. They strapped her arms and legs down so she couldn't move. One of them attached small metal discs to her forehead and wrists. A new Zephyrian entered the room. This one had silver streaks in its crystal body instead of gold. I am Kethara, chief researcher. We will now begin studying you. What are you going to do to me? We will test your pain tolerance, your mental capacity, and your emotional responses. This may cause discomfort, but your comfort is not our concern. The machines around Amy started humming. She felt a sharp pain in her head. Then her whole body felt like it was on fire. She gritted her teeth and tried not to scream. Interesting, Kethara said, looking at a crystal screen. The pain response is stronger than expected, but the subject is not making vocal expressions of distress. Most species scream immediately. The pain stopped. Amy took deep breaths and glared at the researcher. Is that all you've got? Kethara tilted its head. You challenge us? Even while restrained and helpless? I'm not helpless, and I'm not afraid of you. We shall see. The next test sent electricity through Amy's body. It felt like being struck by lightning, but she managed to stay conscious. The test after that made her see horrible images in her mind, but she recognized them as false and forced herself to ignore them. After an hour of testing, Kathara seemed confused. Your responses are not following expected patterns. Most species break down after the first few tests. You appear to be adapting to our methods. Maybe your methods aren't as good as you think they are. During the tests, Amy had been studying the room carefully. She noticed that the Zephyrians always stood in the same positions and followed the same procedures. They seemed to do everything the same way every time, like they couldn't think of different approaches. They also seemed surprised whenever Amy did something they didn't expect. When she refused to sit in the chair, when she didn't scream during the pain test, when she challenged them verbally, each time they acted like they had never encountered such behavior before. Tell us about human military capabilities, Kathara demanded. I'm a scientist, not a soldier. You must have knowledge of your species' weapons and defenses, Amy smiled. Even if I did, why would I tell you? Because we can make the pain much worse. Go ahead. I'm not telling you anything that could hurt my people. Kathara increased the power of the pain machine. Amy's body shook and her vision went blurry, but she didn't speak. After several minutes, the researcher turned off the machine. Remarkable. Most subjects beg for mercy by now. Amy struggled to catch her breath. Most subjects probably aren't human. What makes humans different? We don't give up. We don't break. And we definitely don't help people who hurt us. You are one individual. What can one human do against the might of the Zephyrian Empire? Amy looked directly at Kathara. You're about to find out. The researcher made an annoyed sound. Explain. Before you captured me, I sent a message to my brother. He's a captain in the human military. When he gets that message, he's going to come looking for me. And when he does, you're going to learn that attacking humans was the biggest mistake you ever made. One human ship against our entire fleet? Your brother will be destroyed before he can even approach our defenses. Amy smiled again, even though her whole body still hurt from the tests. That's what you think. But you don't understand humans at all. We don't fight like other species. We don't follow your rules. And we never ever abandon our family. Kathara looked at the other Zephyrians in the room. Amy could see uncertainty in their glowing eyes for the first time. They had expected her to break, to beg, to give them information. Instead, she had challenged them and threatened them. Take the human back to its cell, Kathara said finally. We will continue testing tomorrow. As they unstrapped Amy from the chair, she felt a small spark of hope. The Zephyrians were powerful and advanced, but they thought in predictable ways. They expected everyone to behave like they did, logically, formally, and according to rules. But humans didn't always follow rules, especially when someone they loved was in danger. Amy knew her brother Jake would come for her, and when he did, these crystal beings were going to learn what human determination really meant. Captain Jake Murphy was drinking coffee on the bridge of the USS Retribution when Amy's message came through. He had been patrolling the outer rim for 3 weeks, checking on mining operations and looking for pirates. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. The communication officer turned around. Captain, we're receiving a distress signal. It's from the research vessel USS Liberty. Jake set down his coffee cup. Put it through. Amy's voice filled the bridge. Jake, this is Amy. The Liberty is under attack. Unknown aliens are boarding the ship. I don't know if anyone else is alive. Please send help. I'm in Lab 7 on Deck 4. Jake felt his blood turn cold. Amy was his little sister and the only family he had left. Their parents had died in a transport accident 5 years ago, and Jake had always felt responsible for protecting Amy. Communications, send this message to Earth Command immediately. Tell them the Liberty has been attacked by unknown aliens and request immediate backup. Navigation, plot a course to the Liberty's last known position. Maximum speed. The navigation officer looked worried. Sir, that will take us 6 hours even at full power. Then we better hurry. All hands, this is the captain. We have a rescue mission. Battle stations. The Retribution turned toward the Kepler 442 system and accelerated. Jake stood on the bridge watching the stars, his hands clenched into fists. He had served in the military for 12 years and fought in the Proxima Wars against human rebels. But this was different. This time it was personal. Captain, the communications officer called out. We're getting responses from 2 other ships. The USS Vengeance and the USS Ghost Rider are in this sector. Captain Rodriguez on the Vengeance says she'll meet us at the rendezvous point. Jake nodded. Lisa Rodriguez was a good captain and an old friend. The Ghost Rider was a stealth ship commanded by Ben Hayes, another veteran of the Proxima Wars. If they were going up against unknown aliens, Jake would need all the help he could get. 4 hours later, the 3 human ships met in space near the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Jake called a video conference with the other captains. "What do we know about these aliens?" Lisa Rodriguez asked. She was a tough woman with short black hair and scars on her face from the wars. "Nothing," Jake replied. Amy's message said they were unknown. The Liberty was a research ship with no weapons and basic shields. Whatever attacked them must have been powerful enough to overwhelm them quickly. Ben Hayes leaned forward. The Ghost Rider's captain was thin and pale, like all stealth ship officers who spent most of their time in the dark. "My ship's sensors are picking up something big near the Liberty's last position. It's not human technology." "How big?" Jake asked. "At least 10 times the size of the Liberty. Maybe bigger. And there are smaller ships around it, maybe 20 or 30 of them." Lisa whistled. "That's a whole fleet. Jake, we're only 3 ships. If these aliens have that kind of firepower, we might not be able to help your sister." Jake's jaw tightened. "We're going anyway. Amy is my sister and I don't leave family behind. But I understand if you want to wait for backup." "Don't be stupid," Lisa said. "We're not leaving you to face this alone. But we need a plan. We can't just charge in with guns blazing." Ben nodded. "The Ghost Rider can get close without being detected. Let me scout ahead and see what we're dealing with." "Good idea." "Lisa, can the Vengeance handle a direct assault if needed?" "My ship has the heaviest weapons and best armor in this group. If it comes to a fight, I can give them something to think about." "What about the Retribution?" Ben asked. Jake smiled grimly. "We're fast and we hit hard. I'll be the distraction while you 2 do the real work." The 3 ships separated. The Ghost Rider disappeared into stealth mode while the Vengeance and Retribution approached more slowly. Jake tried not to think about what might be happening to Amy while they planned their attack. An hour later, Ben's voice came over the communication system. "Jake, you need to see this. I'm sending you the sensor data." The main screen filled with images of the alien fleet. Jake had never seen ships like these before. They were dark and angular, made of some kind of crystal material that seemed to absorb light. The largest ship was enormous, bigger than anything humans had ever built. "There's something else," Ben continued. "I'm detecting human life signs on the big ship. At least 50 people, maybe more. Some of them might be from the Liberty." Jake felt hope and anger at the same time. Amy might still be alive, but she was trapped on that alien ship with dozens of other humans. "Any idea what these aliens want?" Lisa asked. "From what I can tell, they're not trying to salvage the Liberty or steal anything from it. This looks like they were specifically hunting for humans." Jake thought about that. "Why would aliens want to capture humans?" "Maybe they're studying us," Ben suggested. "Or maybe they see us as some kind of threat." "Well, they're right about that," Jake said. "Ben, can you get close enough to scan their defenses?" "Already on it. Their shields are strong, but they're not expecting an attack. Most of their weapons are pointed outward, not at each other. If we could get between their ships, we might be able to cause some confusion." Lisa was studying the tactical display. "Their formation is too perfect. Look at how evenly spaced they are, how symmetrically they're arranged. It's like they can't think outside of rigid patterns." Jake saw what she meant. The alien ships were positioned in a perfect grid, with exact distances between each vessel. It looked impressive, but it also looked inflexible. "That gives me an idea," Jake said. "What if we don't attack them the way they expect to be attacked?" "What do you mean?" Ben asked. "Look at their formation. It's designed to defend against frontal assaults or coordinated fleet actions. But what if we attack from 3 different directions at once using completely different tactics?" Lisa grinned. "Chaos instead of order. I like it." "Ben, can the Ghost Rider get inside their formation without being detected?" "Probably. These aliens seem to rely on their sensors more than visual observation. If I stay quiet, I might be able to get right up to the big ship." "Good. Lisa, how do you feel about a ramming attack?" Lisa laughed. "Are you crazy? The Vengeance isn't built for ramming. I'm not talking about actually ramming them. I'm talking about making them think you're going to ram them. Get their attention, make them focus on you, then pull back at the last second." "While you do what?" Jake's smile was cold. "While I do something they'll never expect. I'm going to rescue my sister and show these aliens that humans don't follow their rules." The three captains spent the next hour planning their attack. It was risky and probably crazy, but it was also completely unpredictable. The aliens had captured humans thinking they were weak and helpless. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Amy sat in her cell on the alien ship, studying the walls and looking for weaknesses. The Zephyrians had put her in a small room with crystal walls that glowed softly. There was a bed, a water dispenser, and what seemed to be a waste disposal unit, but no obvious way to escape. She had been there for 2 days now. Every few hours, Zephyrian guards would come to take her for more tests. Each time, Amy learned a little more about her captors. They were methodical and predictable. They always came at the same times, always followed the same procedures, and always expected her to behave the same way. But Amy was starting to understand something important about the Zephyrians. They were advanced and powerful, but they thought in straight lines. They couldn't imagine someone doing something unexpected or illogical. During her last testing session, Amy had noticed that the Zephyrians all ate the same food from the same source. It came from machines in the walls that created some kind of blue liquid. She had also noticed that their breathing was different from humans. They seemed to absorb something from the air through their crystal skin. Amy was a biochemist. She understood how different species processed nutrients and chemicals, and she was starting to form a plan. When the guards brought her food, Amy pretended to be weak and sick. "Please," she said to one of them, "I need medicine. Human medicine. Do you have any of the samples from my ship?" The guard made that wind-through glass sound. "Human medicine would not work on Zephyrians. We have no need for your primitive chemicals. I'm not asking for Zephyrian medicine. I need human medicine or I'll die." The guard seemed to think about this. Dead specimens are less useful than living ones. "We will retrieve materials from your vessel." An hour later, they brought Amy a bag of supplies from the Liberty's medical bay. Amy went through it carefully, acting like she was looking for specific medicine. But really, she was looking for the chemicals she needed for her plan. She found what she was looking for. There were 3 different compounds that, when mixed together, would create a substance that affected brain chemistry. In humans, it would cause mild hallucinations and confusion, but Amy suspected it would have a much stronger effect on Zephyrians. The hard part was getting the mixture into their food system without being caught. Amy waited until the middle of the sleep cycle when fewer guards were around. She had noticed that the food machines were connected to a central system through pipes in the walls. Using a small tool from the medical kit, Amy managed to loosen one of the panels on her cell wall. Behind it was a pipe that glowed with the same blue light as the Zephyrian food. Amy carefully injected her chemical mixture into the pipe and sealed it back up. Now she had to wait and see if it worked. Meanwhile, outside the ship, Jake and his team were putting their plan into action. The Ghost Rider had moved into position inside the Zephyrian formation without being detected. Ben Hayes was now less than a mile from the main ship, hidden in the shadow of a smaller vessel. "Ghost Rider to Retribution." Ben's voice whispered over the communication system. "I'm in position. I can see the docking bay where they're keeping the Liberty. There are definitely humans alive on that ship." Jake felt relief and anger at the same time. "How many guards?" "Not many. It looks like they don't expect any trouble. These aliens are really overconfident." "Vengeance to all ships," Lisa Rodriguez called out. "I'm beginning my approach. When I start my attack run, you'll have maybe 10 minutes before their whole fleet responds." "Understood," Jake replied. "Ben, get ready to move." "I'm going in." The Retribution suddenly accelerated toward the Zephyrian fleet. Jake had ordered all non-essential systems shut down and all power diverted to engines and weapons. The ship was moving faster than it was designed to go, but Jake didn't care about safety margins. The Zephyrians detected the Retribution when it was still far away, just as Jake had planned. Their ships began turning to face the threat, moving in perfect formation. Jake could see their weapons powering up, their shields strengthening, but they were all turning to face the same direction, all following the same defensive plan. They had no idea that 2 other human ships were already among them. "Vengeance beginning attack run," Lisa announced. The USS Vengeance suddenly appeared from behind an asteroid, moving at full speed directly toward the largest Zephyrian ship. It looked like Lisa was going to ram her ship right into the alien vessel. The Zephyrians panicked. Every ship in their fleet turned to face the Vengeance, firing everything they had. The space around Lisa's ship filled with energy beams and projectiles, but at the last second the Vengeance pulled up hard and rolled away from the alien ship. Lisa had never intended to actually ram them. She just wanted to make them think she was crazy enough to try it. The distraction worked perfectly. While every Zephyrian was focused on the vengeance, Ben launched his attack. The Ghost Rider fired all its weapons into the docking bay of the main ship, blowing a huge hole in the side. Go, 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 Ben shouted. Jake pushed the retribution even harder. The ship shot through the confused Zephyrian formation like an arrow. Several alien ships tried to turn and fire at him, but they were too slow and too rigid in their thinking. Jake brought his ship right up to the hole Ben had created and extended the docking tube. Marines, you're up. 20 human Marines in battle armor stormed through the docking tube into the alien ship. They had studied the layout that Ben's sensors had provided, and they knew exactly where to go. Inside the Zephyrian ship, alarms were ringing. Amy could hear running footsteps and confused voices speaking in that strange language. Something had gone wrong with the aliens' plans, and Amy had a feeling she knew what it was. Her chemical mixture was working. Through the walls, she could hear Zephyrians making sounds of confusion and distress. Some of them were seeing things that weren't there. Others were having trouble thinking clearly. When the guards came to move Amy to a more secure location, they were moving slowly and seemed disoriented. Amy waited until one of them came close enough, then grabbed the weapon from its belt. "Stay back," she warned them, pointing the alien weapon at the guards. The Zephyrians made angry sounds, but they seemed too confused to coordinate an attack. Amy backed toward the door of her cell. "Amy," a familiar voice shouted from somewhere nearby. "Amy, where are you?" "Jake," Amy called back. "I'm here. Cell block 7. The sound of human weapons firing echoed through the corridors. Amy's heart filled with joy and relief. Her brother had come for her, just like she knew he would. But she also knew this was just the beginning. The Zephyrians had attacked a human ship and captured human prisoners. Jake and his crew had just shown them that humans don't give up and don't abandon their own. Now the aliens were going to learn what happened when you made humans angry. Jake and his Marines fought their way through the Zephyrian ship corridors. The aliens were confused and disoriented, making strange sounds and moving like they couldn't see properly. Whatever Amy had done to them, it was working perfectly. "This way," Sergeant Kelly Brooks shouted, pointing down a corridor. She was leading the Marine squad while Jake followed behind. They had been fighting together for years and moved like a well-oiled machine. Jake turned a corner and saw Amy standing outside a cell, holding an alien weapon. She was thinner than when he had last seen her, and there were bruises on her arms, but she was alive and fighting. "Amy." Jake ran to his sister and pulled her into a hug. "Are you hurt?" "I'm okay." "But Jake, there are other humans here." "Lots of them. The aliens have been capturing people from different ships." "Where are they?" Amy pointed down the corridor. "That way." "But Jake, we have a bigger problem." "I heard the aliens talking. They're planning to attack human colonies. They want to test their weapons on our people." Jake's face went hard. "Not if I can help it. Kelly, take half the squad and find the other prisoners. Amy and I will head for the ship's command center." "Sir, that's too dangerous," Kelly protested. "You should stay with the main group. These aliens made this personal when they took my sister. I'm going to make sure they regret it." Jake and Amy moved through the ship while Kelly's team went to rescue the other prisoners. The corridors were filled with confused Zephyrians who seemed to be having trouble seeing and thinking clearly. "What did you do to them?" Jake asked as they ran. "I poisoned their food supply with chemicals that affect brain function. In humans, it would just cause mild hallucinations, but their brain chemistry is different. It's hitting them much harder." Jake grinned. "That's my little sister. Always thinking like a scientist." They reached the command center and found it guarded by 6 Zephyrians. These ones seemed less affected by Amy's chemical attack, probably because they ate different food than the regular crew. "Human invaders," one of them said in that glass-wine voice. "You will surrender or be destroyed." "Not today," Jake replied, raising his weapon. The fight was short but intense. The Zephyrians were tall and strong, but they fought in predictable patterns. Jake and Amy used the ship's layout to their advantage, ducking behind crystal formations and using the aliens' rigid thinking against them. When the last guard fell, Jake and Amy entered the command center. It was a large room filled with crystal screens and control panels. In the center was a raised platform where the ship's commander stood. Commander Vex Thera turned to face them. Unlike the other Zephyrians, this one seemed completely unaffected by Amy's chemical attack. "The human specimens have escaped. This is unexpected. We're full of surprises." Jake said, keeping his weapon pointed at the commander. "You cannot stop what has already begun. Our fleet is moving toward your colonies. Your rescue attempt has only delayed the inevitable." Amy stepped forward. "You're wrong. You don't understand humans at all. Explain. You think we're weak because we're not as advanced as you. You think we're stupid because we don't follow your rules. But you made one big mistake." Vexithera tilted its head. "What mistake?" "You hurt one of us," Jake said. "And when you hurt one human, you make enemies of all humans." At that moment, the ship shook violently. Through the crystal windows, they could see the Vengeance and the Ghost Rider attacking the Zephyrian fleet. But now there were more human ships arriving. Jake's distress call had reached Earth Command, and the cavalry was coming. "Impossible," Vexithera said, watching more human ships appear on the screens. "We destroyed your communications." "You destroyed one ship's communications," Amy said. "But my brother sent out a call for help before he came to rescue me. And humans always answer when one of their own is in trouble." Jake was studying the command center's screens. He could see the tactical display showing both fleets. The humans were outnumbered, but they were fighting in ways the Zephyrians couldn't predict or counter. Captain Rodriguez was using the Vengeance like a battering ram, charging straight at enemy ships and pulling away at the last second. The aliens kept falling for the same trick because they couldn't believe anyone would be crazy enough to actually ram a ship. Ben, Hayes and the Ghost Rider were appearing and disappearing throughout the enemy formation, striking where the aliens least expected it. The stealth ship would materialize, fire everything it had, then vanish again before the Zephyrians could respond. But what really confused the aliens were the new human ships that kept arriving. Each one fought differently. Some used coordinated attacks, others fought alone. Some followed military doctrine, others seemed to make up tactics as they went along. "Your ships fight without coordination," Vexthera observed. "They follow no clear strategy. How can they be effective?" "That's exactly why they're effective," Jake explained. "You're used to fighting enemies who think like you do. Logical, predictable, following rules. But humans don't always follow rules, especially when we're angry." Amy was working at one of the control panels. As a scientist, she was good at figuring out how alien technology worked. "Jake, I think I can access their communication system." "Do it." Amy's fingers moved across the crystal controls. Suddenly, music began playing throughout the Zephyrian fleet. It was an old Earth song. Something about never giving up and never letting people down. "What is this noise?" Vexithera demanded. "It's called music," Amy said. "It's something humans created to express emotions. You wouldn't understand." The music seemed to be having an effect on the Zephyrian crews. They weren't used to sounds that had no logical purpose, that existed only to make people feel things. Jake opened a communication channel to the human fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Murphy. I'm broadcasting from the enemy command ship. Target their weapons arrays, but try not to destroy the ships completely. We want prisoners, not casualties." "Jake, what are you doing?" Amy asked. "Something they'll never expect. We're not going to destroy their fleet. We're going to capture it." The battle raged for 2 more hours. The humans used every trick they could think of. They rammed ships with escape pods ready. They used asteroids as weapons. They even had one captain pretend to surrender, then attack when the aliens came to board his ship. But the most effective weapon was uncertainty. The Zephyrians simply couldn't adapt to the chaotic, unpredictable way humans fought. Every time they thought they understood human tactics, the humans would do something completely different. Finally, Vexithara raised its hands in defeat. "Enough, we surrender." Jake lowered his weapon but kept it ready. "Smart choice. We underestimated your species. We believed you were weak and primitive." "We were wrong," Amy nodded. "Yes, you were. And now every other species in the galaxy is going to know it too." The war was over before it had really begun. The Zephyrians retreated to their home territory and sent messages throughout the galaxy, warning other species about humans. They described a race that fought without logic, that valued individual lives over strategic advantage, that would escalate any conflict to unimaginable levels. Jake and Amy returned to Earth as heroes, but Amy went back to her research with a new purpose. She now worked on developing defenses against alien attacks, using her knowledge of biochemistry and her experience with the Zephyrians. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Capturing a human wasn't the beginning of an easy victory. It was the spark that started a fire that would burn everything in its path until justice was done. And that was exactly how humans liked it.